issue on its merits. We'll talk to you at 5 o'clock Eastern, Tom. Thanks for that. We're going to go live to Beijing now. Bob Carr, the former Foreign Minister, joins me on the line. Former Foreign Minister Bob Carr. Mr Carr, thanks very much for your time. I want to get your thoughts on the comments made by Stephen Conroy, the Shadow Defence Minister. He's calling on the government to authorise freedom of navigation exercises within 12 nautical miles of reclaimed Chinese territory, the reefs and islands, so on, in the South China Sea. Given his call just after the ruling by the International Tribunal at the Hague, what's your analysis of that, your response to that?
Well, if we did that, Kieran, we would be the only American friend, ally or partner in the region or in the world to be running such patrols. It would really stand out. I've done a survey. I head a think tank now in Australia-China relations. Our survey shows that you won't have South Korea, you won't have India, you won't have New Zealand, Canada, the UK, you're not going to have Singapore running patrols that follow the American patrols within that 12 nautical mile radius in the South China Sea. So that's the first thing. Nothing would cast us in the role of America's deputy sheriff more than us being the only American friend to do that. But the second point is America hasn't asked us to do it. 2 US admirals in recent months gave speeches saying it would be a good idea. And if we were to charge in and start running these patrols, it would look craven. It would look like Australia at a hint from 2 US admirals was off doing what they asked us to do without a formal, polite request from the State Department or the White House. So I think we've got to sit back and absorb what happened. We've got to maintain patient diplomacy with China. And you've already got various hints of the possibility of negotiations between China and the Philippines, and we should allow them to work themselves through the system.
Now, as I say, I've referred to Stephen Conroy's comments in relation to the freedom of navigation exercises. He also said that Australia has an obligation, really, to defend the international rules-based order because we've benefited so much from that. What do you say to him in response to that? And also his suggestion, which many agree with, that China has been guilty of bullying its smaller neighbours in the region.
Well, the first point I'd make is that we would still be the only American friend, partner or ally to pursue such patrols, and that would stand out. I think a lot of Australians would be saying if there's a battle for dominance, primacy and leadership in the South China Sea that pitches the existing superpower, the United States, against a rising power, that is China, then Australia ought to be very careful. Is this, in fact, our battle? Now, we've got the issue is how we make a point about our values, our support for the rule of law, our support for international law governing the maritime territories. And what I'm urging, what Julie Bishop and Malcolm Turnbull have urged, is that Australia makes these points diplomatically. Australia makes these points diplomatically, and I think both of them, I think Bill Shorten and Tanya Plibersek are in the same camp, have said that now is the time for cool heads, a cool appraisal of the situation and the use of diplomacy. We would be the only other power in the world responding to this arbitral ruling by launching patrols that penetrated the 12 nautical mile radius around claimed Chinese territory, and not even America, which has run 3 such patrols, is saying that this would be its response to the ruling from the tribunal.
The Foreign Minister, Julie Bishop, and the Prime Minister, for that matter, said they hope that this is an opportunity for the region to come together, for claimants to re-engage in dialogue with each other based on greater clarity around maritime rights. You're in Beijing, as I mentioned when I introduced you. What's your sense being there on the ground now in terms of the reaction from the Chinese? Is there any sense that you're picking up, any real sense that they will turn more in that direction as opposed to a more muscular response with an air identification zone or some naval exercise?
I think China would have problems with an air identification zone. A lot would depend on the borders of it, the reach of it. But I think it's pretty clear that nations in the region will not accept that. So it would be problematic for the Chinese to declare something that no one is going to recognise. I don't think that gets us anywhere. There are hopeful hints from the new president of the Philippines, and indeed from some Chinese news sources, of the possibility of one-on-one negotiations, bilateral negotiations. And that's something that Australia, through diplomacy, should be encouraging. If you get the two sides talking, there's less chance of an accidental clash that could propel both of them into conflict. And there's also the prospect of edging forward resource-sharing agreements that mean any resources around a reef or a small island can be developed by the two sides, subject to an agreement with both of them splitting the proceeds, splitting the benefits. Resource-sharing agreements have got several precedents in Southeast Asia, and they are, many people would think, the ultimate solution to these stubborn maritime territorial disputes. But Australia dashing off and launching patrols on our own, no other nation doing it, at a time of such sensitivity is precisely the wrong call, and Malcolm Turnbull and Julie Bishop and Bill Shorten and Tanya Plibersek are right to take the approach they've taken to it.
Now, just finally, just to conclude where we began in relation to that call from Senator Conroy for us to engage in freedom of navigation exercises, not only would it portray Australia as a deputy sheriff, as you've put it, but the further question I ask you, is it fair to then make the conclusion that it would also exacerbate what is already a volatile situation, that it could be very, very risky?
Yeah, when you've got hints of a negotiated approach, and well before you've had any reaction from China, I don't know if the Chinese reaction can be, while you've got Americans urging caution, it's precisely the wrong time to do that, and I think Julie Bishop was right to say it would. I think her term was add to tensions.
Yeah, former Foreign Minister Bob Carr, appreciate your time from Beijing. We'll talk to you soon. To some other news now, and the New South Wales greyhound industry